Welcome to the Mind of Business Success podcast. I'm your host, Alicia Kramer. Our guest today is Tamika Carlton. Let's talk about how we can optimize your content and increase those inbound leads. Welcome to the show, Tamika.
Thank you for having me. It's so great to be here.
Let's start by talking a little bit about your area of expertise. So, can you start by sharing a little bit about what you're doing with your business?
Absolutely. So I run my own digital marketing company, and basically we prioritize assisting impactful businesses and entrepreneurs to get additional reach. And a lot of what we prioritize is focusing on content management and SEO and just really gaining an increase of visibility through organic reach through really like solid content that you're releasing to the public.
A lot of people are sort of dabbling with content.
Sure.
I've had people who admit, oh, I should probably be doing more of that, or I
Of
should be
course.
doing a little bit more of this, or I should be a little more consistent here or there. I should work on my
Yeah.
SEO. Let's kind of start with some of the basics. So, for those who maybe are dabblers, or maybe they even have a blog and some video based content, maybe they're even posting those things on social media, some thoughts that might help people kind of get dialed in on how to really start leveraging content to be that generator of
Sure.
organic traffic.
Sure. I think a lot of times, and this is something that I've come across with clients and just people in general, is that we get really overwhelmed with the world of marketing as a whole, right? Because there's so many avenues that you can tap into. And a lot of times we dabble a little bit with social media, we dabble a little bit with content or like blog writing. And we're really not honing in on the opportunity because we're not truly focusing on what we need to be focusing on. And I think the main thing that I like to tell people when they're first starting or feeling really overwhelmed is really prioritize what you love doing. So if you love writing, if you love creating videos, if you like speaking to people, whatever it is that you enjoy doing, focus on that first, right? So for example, with me, I like to write. So I'm going to make sure that I'm writing content that is going to be relevant to my target audience, right? So really thinking about who your target audience is and how you can speak to them. I tell people all the time too that like think about if you want to talk to or convince your husband of doing something, or you want to convince your child of doing something. Like we all have the communication methods that we need. But I think a lot of times we get overwhelmed and overthink things. So just say, like, if your target audience is a mother, like, how do you want to talk to a mom that is worried about whatever it may be? Like, how are you going to service their pain points? So I always say just simplify things and prioritize what you really like doing because it'll make it easier for you to actually produce it on a more consistent basis because consistency is key with content, right? So,
Let's talk about that a little bit. Everybody has differing opinions on virtually everything, right?
absolutely.
1 month eggs are good for you, the next month eggs are the devil. Right?
Yes, absolutely. You are absolutely right.
So, so when it comes to that type of consistency with content, I realize that it is probably a little bit variable, but
Yes.
are there some kind of parameters where maybe people should make sure that they are producing at least one piece of content every so often?
Yeah. Yeah. Best practices are ever changing, right? Like I would say that a lot of people that are more successful promptly and quickly are going to be producing more content on a daily basis or a weekly basis, right? So if you can really hone in on being able to connect with your audience weekly, I would say whether that's through, blog content or social media content, that's going to make sure that your audience has an understanding of when you're going to come out, right? And a lot of times it's better to do that on specific days of the week just so that people can have an expectation. But I just want everyone to be able to commit to something, right? And a lot of times we say we're going to do things and we don't do them, which I totally get because I've been there. But consistency really is key. And I would say best practices at least once a week, because you don't want to lose your audience, but you want to maintain that engagement as often as possible.
And for most people, that's manageable. That's not
Right.
extreme. It's not over the top. Most people could find, a couple hours or even an hour,
Exactly.
whether maybe it's video content or whatever. But now, how would you guide people to leverage that content so that it actually gets eyeballs on it? Because that's another pain point for people. They are creating the content and then they're looking at the stats, whether it's how many views you have on YouTube or how many likes you have on social media or how many clicks you're getting on your website. And it's a bit disheartening for people.
Sure. I totally get it. And, we're all in this world of, we want fast results. And I think one thing to think about is, content is about the compound effect. So you may not get immediate results, but most importantly, to get additional eyes on your content is to make sure that you're utilizing keywords, right? And the keywords that you want to be utilizing need to be tailored to your target audience. And, a lot of time, target audience and their pain point. So I always tell people to focus on at least 3 main keywords that are relevant to your business, whether it's, recognizing the pain point in the keyword, B, like the individual that you're talking to, and then just like your energy, like implement something that's like a keyword that's positive to you. So for example, I work with entrepreneurs, so I want to make sure that I have the entrepreneur keyword in every content that I have. I'm a positive individual, so I want to make sure that I implement positivity in my keyword, right? Or in my content titles. So it's really just about tailoring your content to your target audience. Does that kind of,
yeah. It's very practical things that people can implement. And some of it seems, as with most truisms in life, it seems very obvious once it's sort of brought to the forefront. But if you're not taught these things, it's not necessarily intuitive.
No, and I think another trick is look for what you search for, right? So like if you go on a Google search and you're someone that you think may be searching for your service, what are you typing in, right? And look up what you may be typing in. And sometimes, Google will rework it for you and use those keywords as the content or as keywords in your content or in your titles, just because you don't have to reinvent the wheel at all. Like Google is there as our friend for sure. And I think that sometimes a lot of times we are not focusing on what the needs are for our people, or we're just, like I always say, overthinking it. Like we're just completely overthinking it. And it's, it doesn't have to be perfect. And eventually you'll grow to have a clear understanding of who is really, connecting with your work. And a lot of that is going to come from more clients reaching out to you, case studies that you do. So just compound effect. I always say like things are going to come to fruition, but just start somewhere and be consistent with it.
Let's talk about the business owners who are listening, who have maybe more resources than time and would prefer to outsource this type of stuff, because there are a lot of individuals like yourself or other companies that help create content. And I'm curious how that looks when you've got a solopreneur or somebody who's in the startup phase of their business. They're sort of grassrooting it, right? So they're creating all that content. It's a great opportunity for them to continue to refine their own language, to refine the message that they're wanting to communicate to their audience. But for those that already have all of that sort of established, and they just want that marketing vehicle.
Sure.
What does that look like?
From the perspective of SEO, I would say that the majority of the time, for an example for myself too, we're going to come to the company or to a business owner and ensure that we're learning about who you are, number one, right? Who you service, all of the things. We're going to do an SEO audit. So we're going to learn about your website, whether you're currently ranking for anything, whether you have technical issues on your website. And then we're going to branch out and figure out what are some really pivotal keywords that you should be ranking for that are going to get you the inbound leads that you want on a consistent basis. And we can work with the client and the business owner to figure that out. And then we're going to optimize all of the content on your website, whether that's your blog content, the website words on your homepage. We're going to optimize your menu navigation if need be to ensure that it's a smooth user experience for anyone that visits your site. And when you do all of the combination of things, really optimizing the content is one of the most important things, just because a lot of times we're producing decent content or blog articles on our website, but we're not getting the views because we don't have like H1 tags, for example. We don't have meta descriptions that are tailored to the keywords. We don't have alt text on our photos, things of that nature that are the technical boring things that no one really cares about, right? But those are the things that are going to get you higher ranked on Google, because Google really just wants to be able to showcase reputable, credible websites to users. So that's how you build your credibility on Google and rank higher.
Love it. So then for people who are trying to come up with a content strategy,
Yeah.
you offered some thoughts, on how to stop maybe overthinking it so much and look at it from the customer client's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And you helped set a realistic and attainable goal of at least
Sure.
one piece of content per week.
Yes.
What should people expect? You said, it's a long game. So in terms of content, what is a reasonable expectation for people? They know it's something that they should be doing, and they've probably heard that it's, it can be beneficial. And then they hear some conflicting things maybe about how it doesn't work or whatever, frustrated people are saying.
Yeah, and there's a lot.
So let's set some realistic expectations, because I want people to be empowered about marketing. It is a critical piece of the overall business strategy.
Absolutely.
And it is met with both, resistance as well as sometimes unrealistic expectations.
Yes. I think, two things. One is, when you have consistency, say, for example, if I work with a client that is beginning with their messaging and we hone in their messaging and they are pumping out video content on a weekly basis, honestly, if you have an audience that's engaged, less than 1,000 people, you can see people engaging with your content or reaching out to you via DMs about your service within a month. Now, from the perspective of SEO, it's going to take a little bit longer pending the amount of content that you have on your website and how, optimized we can get it. But I would say realistically 3 to 6 months before you see like some fruitful leads that are coming in that are actually relevant to you, because initially you'll get some spam, and then you'll progress to solid leads that are actually going to convert. So 3 to 6 months. And then post that time, if you continue to, build up on this platform or foundation that you have of solid content, it's going to be consistent. And you can continue to create new content and more relevant content that will increase your visibility.
So good. All right. So I've got to shift gears just a little bit, because I'd love to speak to you as the business owner about your personal mindset journey. And one of the questions that I will frequently ask my guests is if there has been a specific mindset challenge that you're willing to share with us that you had to overcome to get to where you are today.
Yeah, it's funny that as much as I'm in marketing, people are always surprised by this, and because of my personality, but I am a writer for the most part. I'm more of a technical person too, and I had a mindset challenge of wanting to put myself out there. Like I did not want to be the front person for the business at all. And I think a lot of that was just because I was resisting the shift of being a private person, from going private to public, and just putting myself out there on social media, on podcasts, all of these things, doing speaking engagements. But I will say that, and even my team is like, you are the person that understands what you want the most, and you have the ability to connect with people in a different way. And I think you doubt yourself. That was one of the things too. Like I doubted myself, and I was able to create this fruitful business without having to put myself out there. But it was one of those things that in order for you to scale and become this wonderful business owner that you want to continue to be, I have to release the resistance. So I think a lot of it was just that. That was the major mindset shift for me. Just stop being afraid and just put yourself out there to see the fruits of your labor come into fruition ultimately.
I'm sure there are a lot of people who are relating to that, myself included.
Right. We're not alone, okay?
We're not alone. And it's, it's an interesting thing because the mind has us convinced that it's going to be scary, it's going to be painful, something awful is going to happen, people are not going to like us, they're going to be so judgmental and all of this stuff. And when you are able to release and let go of your resistance and just start moving in the direction of getting yourself out there, you recognize that it's not the scary thing.
No.
That most people don't give a damn about you. And those who do see you, there are going to be people who are going to appreciate you. There are going to be people who are going to be so incredibly grateful that you are doing what you're doing and you're putting yourself out there.
Well, and that's a great point. I think more than anything, a lot of times too, there's this idea that like, am I as good as the other person that's putting themselves out there? And it's like, you don't have to be as good as them. At the end of the day, you have your specific target audience and your audience that's going to resonate with what you're saying. And that's the beautiful thing about life and being who you are, is because people are waiting on you to show up because they connect with you, not with the other person. So I think, I had to grow into that, and it's become a very beautiful thing.
I love that you made that point. Some people have a hard time believing it.
Yes.
But one of the things that I think everybody can sort of relate to is there can be two gurus, for instance, on a subject, and you are going to prefer one of those gurus, and you may have a friend, a colleague who prefers the other one. There is just this way that we are being of service by being our unique self.
Exactly.
And one of the things that I get a little bit, I am an ordained minister, but I don't preach. But every once in a while, I listen back to a recording or something when I'm on a podcast or hosting this one, and it's like, okay, you got a little preachy there, Alicia. But
I love it.
I do believe this so strongly, and I've seen so much evidence of it, that desire that you have in your heart. We all have this desire to do our work, to feel a sense of meaning, to feel a sense of purpose, to feel like we're helping and making a positive difference, to have a better quality of life for ourselves, for our family. I always say, and I really feel this as being a high truth, like the truth with a capital T,
Sure.
is
Yeah.
that is a divine inner calling. That is a
Yes.
beautiful thing. That is
Yes.
the divine expressing itself through us.
Yes.
And if you have that desire to be of service through your business, to be the best version of yourself, not a perfect
Yes.
version of yourself, but a beautiful human being doing good things that help people, that if that desire is there, there is a reason for it.
Yes.
And you are an answer to someone
Yes.
else's.
Yes. Oh, that's deep. Yes,
Yeah.
I truly believe it. And it's not going to go away. I resisted the public facing piece for years, and it was just like slowly creeping up more and more. And it just is not going to go away. So you just got to listen. I mean, ultimately, that's the message that I received, and I think that it's important for other people to receive, because we are each invaluable, and we are needed, and our purpose is very much it's unlike anyone else's, and without it there is going to be something that is going to be neglected if we don't release whatever it is that we think we're supposed to hold on to for the protection of ourselves. Really, it has nothing else to do with anything else. It's really just allowing the fear to take over. So I just say, put yourself out there, do the things, elevate yourself and connect with your purpose more and more, because it is not going to leave you. It's going to be frustrating more and more and more, because it's a strong feeling, which is so great. It's like, to know that there is a reason, right? Is monumental. So
The fear is just an illusion. If
it
you've got the
is.
desire in your heart, then it's a beautiful thing. It's a good
It
thing.
is. It is. I love it. I mean, yes.
Preach on.
Right. Seriously. I
Well,
love it.
this has been a super fun conversation, Tamika. How can our listeners connect with you?
Absolutely. Feel free to go to my website, tamikacarlton.com, and then I'm on Instagram providing all the tips and tricks and all the good things at Tamika_Carlton JBP.
Excellent. Thank you again for being with us, sharing those valuable tips that people can put into practice, and being so honest about your own mindset
Yes,
stuff. I
absolutely.
think there probably was at least one person, maybe more, who
Hopefully.
needed to hear that today.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much for having me. It's been great.
And thank you, of course, to all of our listeners. You know we're doing this for you. If you haven't already subscribed, make sure you do so. And until next time, we will see you in the next episode.